Hello, my dear students. Today we are going to study the poem The Listeners by Walter De La Mare, which is prescribed in FYBA General Paper 1 of Savitribai Phule Pune University. Walter De La Mare we can call him the magician of the words, and he is also gifted with a sense of supernatural, the world of fantasy. He can paint the picture of the fantastic other world, which is on the edge of our consciousness. And in this poem, the listeners also he is painting this supernatural world, the world which is beyond this earthly world, and the world which is full of half heard whispers. So, I will advise you that you should keep the text in front of you while going through this video. So, let us read the poem first. Is there anybody there? Said the traveler. Is there anybody there? Said the traveler, knocking on the moonlit door. And his horse in the silence, champed the grass of the forest's ferny floor. And a bird flew up out of the turret, above the traveller's head. And he smote upon the door once again a second time. Is there anybody there? He said. But no one descended to the traveller. No head from the leaf-fringed sill leaned over and looked into his grey eyes, where he stood perplexed and still. But only a host of phantom listeners that dwelt in the lone house then stood listening in the quiet of the moonlight to that voice from the world of men, stood thronging on the faint moonbeams on the dark stair. But only a host of phantom listeners that dwelt in the lone house then stood listening in the quiet of the moonlight to that voice from the world of men, stood thronging the faint moonbeams on the dark stair that goes down to the empty hall, hearkening in an air stirred and shaken by the lonely traveller's call. And he felt in his heart their strangeness, their stillness answering his cry. And he felt in his heart their strangeness, their stillness answering his cry, while his horse moved cropping the dark turf beneath the starred and leafy sky. For he suddenly smote on the door, even louder, and lifted his head. Tell them I came, and no one answered. That I kept my word, he said. Never the least stir made the listeners. Though every word he spoke fell echoing through the shadowiness of the still house, from the one man left awake. As they heard his foot upon the stirrup, and the sound of iron on stone, and how the silence surged softly backward, when the plunging hoofs were gone, and how the silence surged softly backward when the plunging hoops were gone. So, my dear students, now we have read the poem. I hope the whole atmosphere of this poem is created in your minds after listening to the poem, after listening to half whispers in the poem, after listening to various sounds in the poem, and as well as after observing the pictures which I have put in this video. So, let us look at the meaning of the lines in the poem. We will read one line each and we will go into the deep meaning of that line. So, the poem Listeners by Walter De La Mare. Is there anybody there? Said the traveler. So, my dear students, can you tell me or can you imagine that how many characters are there in this poem? Yes, there are, we can say that there are two characters and an animal is there, a horse is there. The traveler, the lonely traveler, the single traveler is there and he is standing in front of a bungalow, a lonely bungalow, which is situated in the forest, we can say, and he is standing in front of that bungalow, he is standing in front of that door and he is knocking on the closed door and is asking the question, is there anybody there? We don't know why this traveler has arrived over there. Maybe he has lost his way. He is traveling through the forest and it is night time. He has lost his path and therefore he wants shelter and therefore he is seeking for help. We don't know actually, but at the end we come to know through the line when he says that I kept my promise. It means that he is there to keep his promise. Maybe he has promised someone to come back to that place, to come back to that bungalow, and therefore he is there to fulfill his promise, but nobody is opening the door now to him. And therefore the line is repeated, is there anybody there? So the figure of speech is repetition also and the figure of speech is alliteration also because the word there is also repeated, r sound is repeated and the sound is also repeated. Knocking on the moonlit door. We can imagine you have seen the picture when I shown you the picture, the first picture I have shown you. The bungalow is there and it is moonlit bungalow. Maybe it is full moon night and the bungalow is lighted by the moonlight. The bungalow is shining in the moonlight and the traveler is asking the person inside, is there anybody there? Knocking on the moonlit door. And the traveler, maybe he is traveling on the horse and his horse in the silence champed the grass. What his horse is doing over there? The horse is eating the grass. Okay, the horse is also tired and he is eating the grass outside that bungalow. Of the forest ferny floor. As the bungalow or the mansion is maybe nobody is traveling over there and therefore the whole you can say yard is full of grass and the horse is happily eating the grass. The ferny floor, ferny means which is covered with fern, a soft plant without flowers. It is called as ferny floor. So the horse is eating the grass and a bird flew out of the turret. And what happened next? When he was asking, when he was repeating the same question again and again, a bird flew out of the turret. What is turret? A small tower on the top of a building where maybe these birds, they have created their nest, they are living over there and the bird flew because there was a voice of the human being and the bird flew out of the turret above the traveler's head. And how they flew? They traveler from very near to the traveler's head. And he smote upon the door once again, a second time. He is knocking on the door again and again and asking, repeating his question. Smarting is to knock hard, to hit hard. And he is knocking once again on the door and he is asking the same question, is there anybody there? But no one descended to the traveler. No one came towards the traveler from the bungalow. No one came from the upper story. Maybe the bungalow is having a staircase and no one descended from the, you can say, the bungalow. No head from the leaf-fringed sill leaned over and looked into his grey eyes. How are the eyes of the traveler? Grey eyes. What we actually do when we don't want to open the door, if somebody is knocking on the door and we don't want to open the door, suppose we are living in the bungalow, not in the apartment, what we can do is we peep through the window and we can see who is there, and then we can decide whether we are going to open the door or whether we are not going to open the doors. But this action wasn't done. Nobody descended from the staircase and nobody peeped through the leaf fringed sill. What is leaf fringed sill? You can say the window sill is covered with leaves. The creeper, it has, you can say, the creeper has covered the whole window and nobody, you can say, nobody peeped out of that window to see whether or why this traveler was standing and asking to open the door. So all these things, the yard is covered with grass, the bird has made its nest in the turret, and the window is covered with the creeper, with the leaves. All these things suggest that maybe nobody is living over there. Maybe the bungalow is a haunted bungalow full of phantoms, the unnatural things or supernatural things. But only a host of phantom listeners. And now the traveler is feeling that only ghosts lives in this house, and they are listening to my request to open the door. But only a host of phantom listener. The traveler thinks I am their guest, and who are my host? The hosts are the ghosts that dwelt in the lone house then. That is the lonely house. I told you in the beginning, this is the lonely house in the forest, and therefore the traveler is now feeling that only the bungalow is occupied by the ghost and no people they are living in that mansion. That dwelt in the lone house then stood listening in the quiet of the moonlight. Okay, and they are listening to my request in the quiet of the moonlight, to that voice from the world of men. The traveler is from the world of men, and the phantoms, the ghosts, they are from the supernatural world, and they are listening to the voice from the world of men. Stood thronging in the faint moonbeams on the dark stair. How is the staircase? The staircase is shining by the moonshine, or you can say moonbeams, that goes down to the empty hall. Where does that staircase come towards? It comes towards the empty hall. Hearkening in an air stirred and shaken. Okay, the hall is empty and only it is full of air, and the air is stirred. Air is shaken by the voice, by the call given by the traveler. Hearken is to listen. By the lonely traveler's call. The bungalow is also lonely, the traveler is also lonely, and nobody is listening to his call, and therefore he is feeling that the house is haunted house. There are some supernatural things existing in that house, and they are listening to his cry. And he started feeling something strange, and he felt in his heart their strangeness. He started feeling that this house is not a normal house, ordinary house where human beings live, but something supernatural things exist over here, and he has a feeling of strangeness because there was stillness. Everything was still, stand still, you can say. Only the air was shaken, air in that house was shaken by his call. While his horse moved, when the traveler was knocking on the door again and again, what his horse was doing? While his horse moved, cropping the dark turf beneath the starred and leafy sky. Okay, uh, as we can say that this is the full moon light, and therefore the sky is full of stars, the sky is full of moonlight, and the horse is cropping the dark turf. Okay, what the horse is doing over there? He is, as I said earlier, he is eating the grass, and he is moving here and there. He is waiting for his owner. He is waiting for the traveler as they will continue their journey. Beneath the starred and leafy sky, for he suddenly smote on the door even louder and lifted his head. While his horse was cropping the dark turf, what this traveler did, he knocked on the door, even louder. Loudly he knocked this time and lifted his head. Tell them I came. See this line. Tell them I came. What till now what we were feeling, readers, till this line they were feeling that the traveler is unknown to this house. Traveler hasn't visited this house earlier, but this line reveals the fact that this line opens the secret that he has been there, and now he is there once again to keep his promise. Tell them I came and no one answered, that I kept my word. See these two lines. Tell them I came. I am here to keep my word. I have promised someone to be here, and therefore I am here, and you are not opening the door. Never the lister made the listeners. Nobody opened the door. Nobody was listening. Though every word he spoke fell echoing. When the bungalow is empty, when nobody is living in those rooms, the rooms are empty, what happens? The echo is there. Okay, our voice has a echo. So similarly his voice had a echo, fell echoing through the shadowiness of the still house. How is the house? It is still house, silent house, we can say, because there was only the voice of this person, the traveler, and there was no other voice. And it was the shadowiness of the house. There was some kind of a shadow, you can say. Shadow, whenever we think about some haunted things, feel that there are a few shadows, they are moving here and there. So all these stillness, shadowiness, all these words, they are creating a kind of supernatural world in our imagination. And we can say the poet is successful. Walter De La Mare is successful. So is successful in creating this supernatural world in the minds of his readers. From the one man left awake, now he is thinking, I am the only person, the traveler is the only person who is awake. A. They heard his foot upon the stirrup. A. They heard his foot upon the stirrup and the sound of iron on stone. What is stirrup? Stirrup is the metal rings hanging on both sides of a horse where the rider puts his legs. And they heard his foot upon the stirrup. And now what has happened? The traveler is now tired. The traveler has now decided to return, and therefore he climbs upon his horse. He puts his foot on the stirrup, and the hooves of the horse, they make as you know, the horse is wearing the horseshoe, and therefore there is a sound of iron on the pathway over there. You can see there is a path that is going towards the bungalow, which is made up of stones, and there is a sound of the iron on the stone. And we learn over here in these last two lines, we learn over there here that now he has decided to return back, as he kept his promise. The traveler kept his promise. He came to that house, but nobody opened the door, and therefore he is returning on his horse. And how the silence surged softly backward. The traveler is moving further, and what is left behind? What is left behind is silence surged softly backward. What remained back, what went back is only the silence, the stillness of the house. So, again, in this line, the figure of speech is alliteration because the consonant sound sir is repeated over here. How the silence surged softly backward when the plunging hoofs were gone. Plunging hoofs of the horse, they were gone. Now the traveler has decided to return back from that house, as he has kept his promise. And we can see in this last picture the silence surged softly backward. So this was the poem, and the meaning, or we can say a short summary of the poem. We have seen, we have read the poem line by line. We have understood the meaning of each and every line. So this is the glossary. To champ is to eat, perplex is confused, ferny floor is covered with fern, a plant without flowers, phantom, as I told you earlier, they are ghosts, turret, a small tower on the top of a building, thronging is crowd, smart is to hit or knock on the door, hearken is to listen, descend is to come down, spec means to spoke, leaf fringed, covered with leaves, the window is covered with leaves, stirrup, metal rings where horse rider keeps his legs, lean is to bend, and surge is to went back. So these are the difficult words and their meanings. So we will look towards the autobiographical details of Walter De La Mare. Walter De La Mare was born in 1873 and he died in 1956. He is an English poet and a short story writer and novelist also. He is an astonishing magician of words. He plays with words, we can say, and he creates a supernatural world in the minds of his readers. And he is able to paint pictures of miniature loveliness and turns simple ordinary experiences into magical one. He creates sense of supernatural and other world. He is gifted with a gift that through his words he can create the sense of supernatural world in the minds of his readers. This poem, The Listeners, is also full of half-heard whispers, moonlight and mystery. And he is also, Walter De La Mare is also a master of children's literature as well as ghost and horror stories. So I hope, my dear students, the poem Listeners is very simple. It is about the supernatural world created through the words by Walter De La Mare. There is a traveler who visits a deserted house in the forest, and he encounters with the phantoms over there who are the host in that deserted house. The phantoms are the host. The ghosts, they are welcoming him, but they are not replying to his call. He is calling again and again, is there anybody there? But he receives no reply from inside, and the house is moonlit. Okay, and the poem has a haunting quality that leaves the reader in a pensive mood. The Listeners, we can say, is also a poem of magic realism. And Walter De La Mare create a glimpse of something deep and otherworldly with the help of expressions and images he uses in the Listeners. So I hope you have understood the poem very well. So we will stop over here. Thank you very much.